Well, it's December 30th, 2022. By all accounts, it's the last working day of the year, although some people will work on the other day as well. But this is how we're going to start the program this morning. This is AM Prime on WESN. Let's tell you what's happening. We will talk in the second hour of the program with Mr. Dennis Oliver and Mr. Gerard Giuseppe. Mr. Oliver is a member of the Royal Air Force Association Veterans in Trinidad and Tobago, and Mr. Giuseppe, the Trinidad and Tobago Veterans Association, and they're challenging the decision by people in the government not to negotiate with them. They continue a lease for their headquarters, which was around the Queen's Park, Savannah, and that is an issue. The government is resisting engaging with them any further on it. They have lots to say about it, what has happened, what used to happen, and what ceases to be the case where they congregate and deal with that matter. So we'll talk with them in the second hour of the program. We also talk with Mr. Vivek Charan. He's the chairman of the Confederation of Regional Business Chambers. The situation about business expectations in 2023. Well, we know what has happened in 2020 and 2021. To the extent that 2022 will end up any better than those two. We will discuss those things and more with him, the business outlook for the country going forward. But in a moment, we'll be talking also with Ms. Sita Kurovila. She's the council chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. This is the time of the year when they are at their highest level of anxiety with how they say the rest of us deal with the noise in the country on these nights as we lead to the end of the year, and the effect of that on animals. They're saying that animals have a sensitivity that is higher than humans when it comes to abiding by noise. And they're 10 times more affected by it, and we tend to pay no attention to that. We take you around the region. We'll go further afield as is necessary. We'll be back in a moment to kick it off. Stay with us.
Your Christmas is safe with us at PC. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PC. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Take your list from A to Z, find it all easily. Everyone comes from far and near to the Specialist Hardware.
Get all you need for your interior or exterior projects, from finishing accessories to small or large tools. We're known for our range of doors, flooring, moldings, medallions, even fountain pumps and tanks. Check us out. We have what you need to get that job done.
Take your list from A to Z, find it all easily. Everyone comes from far and near to the Specialist Hardware.
Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marbella.
The best for your baby is at dbesttoys.com. We have the best strollers, car seats, walkers, feeding accessories, playpens, cribs, clothing, and the widest range of brand name toys like Barbie, Hot Wheels, Nerf, LOL, Fisher-Price, Cocomelon, Intex Pools, Amazon Fire Tablets, HP and Gateway laptops, and the best bikes, scooters, skateboards, and ride-on. Visit us in-store at 7 Main Road, MacBean, or shop online now at dbesttoys.com. That's dbesttoys.com. We have the best toys at the best prices.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
At Belgroves, celebrating life is our commitment with integrity, compassion, and dignity for your loved ones. Belgroves Funeral Home and Crematorium, serving Trinidad and Tobago for over a century.
Making your home a work of art.
Step into our spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toy Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures.
Poolside lights, hands and bars, making your home a work of art.
Hosins Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
Welcome back to the program. New Year's Eve pet safety tips. That's the subject of our discussion as we get ready to kick things off on this edition of the program. We're talking about that with Ms. Sita Kuruvela. She's Council Chairman at the Trinidad and Tobago Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. We're talking about how we celebrate the end of a year and we get into the new year, the noises we make, if you put it mildly, how it affects other creatures around us, particularly dogs and other animals. We learned recently that their level of hearing is that several times more critical than ours. And so what we consider to be noise is multiplied tenfold, at least for them. And so they suffer more than humans do. And we continue to get the pleadings of the people whose job it is to point those things out to us. And that is the question on this segment of the program. And we're talking about that with Ms. Kuruvela. What we have not been paying attention to over the years that these things have been brought to attention. Good morning, good to see you, ma'am.
Good morning, thank you for having me.
All right, so where do you want to start?
I mean, we do this every year because we face this problem every year. And, our concerns really are that we are at the receiving end of a lot of animals in need. They may be lost or injured or given up by owners. And our resources are so finite that it's increasingly difficult for us to cope with the number of animals coming in. And every year during the fireworks season, which we consider the period from between Diwali and New Year's, the numbers of lost and injured animals increases greatly. And it puts severe pressure on our abilities to manage. So every year we make the same plea to owners, well, first of all, to owners to keep their animals safe. And secondly, of course, we are pushing really for a change in the existing legislation, which actually currently prohibits the use of fireworks within towns. That is the existing law. So we ask that the the existing laws are actually implemented, and we also advise owners on how they should keep their animals safe and what to do in the event that they do get away or get lost or injured.
So what does the law say?
Well, the existing legislation under the Summary Offences Act, Chapter 1102, Section 99, says that any person who throws, casts, sets fire to, or lets off any fireworks within any town is liable to a fine of $1,000. So that is, one of the aspects of that piece of legislation. It also requires that anyone who, other than a wholesale or retail dealer, shall sell gunpowder or offer or expose the same for sale, that they require a permit. So, it says quite plainly that no fireworks are supposed to be set off in towns. And I remember a few years ago, one of the past commissioners of police came out and stated that very clearly, and it was printed in the papers. But yet there was no action at all on the use of fireworks in towns. So, we ask that the existing legislation should really be enforced. So that's the first point. We understand, or we have seen year after year repeatedly, that this is not done. So our main emphasis has been to try to advise owners to keep their animals safe.
What is your sense as to why the law is not being enforced?
Our position of what we've observed is that the fireworks lobby, the people who probably sell fireworks, maybe they have more influence than we do. But, there's really been no attempt to look at some kind of national consensus on the use of fireworks. Increasingly, every year we see more citizens coming out and protesting against it. Not just people with animals, but also people who are concerned about, elderly people, and, in areas where, crime is a problem, you're never sure what's happening out there with the noise and so on, because fireworks tend to be quite random and arbitrary. You hear explosions, you're never sure what the cause of the explosions is. So I think we have seen a growing response from citizens against the use of fireworks. But so far, we have not been able to make any real headway in the control.
And that response does not influence the decision makers and the policy makers at all?
Well, there was quite a bad fire last year, and a number of people lost their homes. And this year, the government has put out a new bill for consultation, a new bill on fireworks for consultation. And we have attended the consultations and sent our comments. But the new bill actually permits the use of fireworks on public holidays. It does put some limitations on the time period and so on, but it does permit the use of fireworks on public holidays. So in a way, it's even more, it's more lenient in a way than the existing legislation.
And that is contrary to the wishes of organizations such as yours.
Yes, certainly. It puts a lot more, it also puts quite a burden on the police service, because they are supposed to, of course, enforce this new legislation with, and the limitations on the use of fireworks. So it allows fireworks on public holidays. However, it puts a limit on the time period in which citizens are allowed to set off fireworks. So it means that the police would be expected to enforce that, time period. And we think it's quite impractical, really. I mean, fireworks, once they're set off, you don't even know for sure where they're coming from. So, and we think that the police force is already quite overwhelmed with the amount of work that they have to do. And we really don't see that fireworks are going to be a priority for them. So we're not happy with the new bill at all.
Yeah, but you think it's an uphill battle that you all aren't positive of surmounting?
So far, what we really want to see is fireworks taken out of the hands of the public. We recognize that there should be provisions for maybe public displays. And in many countries, they're going the way of light shows and things. There are a lot of different options, under proper controls should be acceptable. But we just feel that once fireworks in the hands of the public, it's impossible. It will be impossible to enforce the usage.
You're saying that it is, when I say you, I mean your organization's considered view that is a lack of will in the government and governments over the years. In addition to, you say that the lobby has some kind of a strength.
Well, it appears to us that the lobby is growing, but there hasn't really been any, attempt to get a national consensus as such. So I can't say, what the feelings are across the board. I certainly know for our community, and that includes not just people who have, companion animals, but also wildlife organizations are very concerned about the impact on wildlife, both captive wildlife and wildlife in general. And we also know that it's had an effect on farmers and so on, particularly poultry farmers and people with chickens and so on. So we do know that there is a broader impact, it's not just companion animals.
What are some of the societies elsewhere in the world that you think are a model in that respect that we can draw from?
Well, I mean, you could even just look at a place like Barbados. Barbados does not allow the use of fireworks by the public. It's completely banned. And I believe the same pertains in Jamaica. But in a number of countries, there's been hard lobbying against fireworks use. And I think even in the UK and so on, they tend to be going more towards things like light shows and so on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was yourself, but somebody in the last couple of days I heard talk about this question of the decibel levels and the experience of animals as opposed to us human beings. Yeah,
certainly, certainly dogs and I mean, a lot of other animals have a much, their hearing is much, much better than ours. So of course the sounds are greatly magnified, which is why you get this, this response that we see, which is that they lose all, control and they just try to escape from the sound. So you get, we get a lot of animals, a lot of dogs running on the road. They get hit by cars. They force their way through bars and over fences and things. So we get, we have injuries of animals, with broken limbs and terrible injuries from just trying to escape from the noise.
Yeah. So they get disoriented and they go berserk.
Exactly. So if you see them during fireworks running, there's just nothing you can do. They just are terrified. So you see a lot of more dead animals on the road. People lose their pets, every year during the season. I mean, if you look at our Facebook page, we constantly, people send us information and we constantly share it of animals pets that have been lost. And a lot of them are never going to be reunited with their owners, and they will probably just become a part of the growing stray population.
Is that an indication of how barbaric we are as a people, as a society?
Well, I think many people just don't even think about it. It's not that, I'm sure many people do this intentionally. It's just they're having fun and it doesn't occur to them. And they've been doing this for a few years now, and they seem to get some enjoyment out of it. But I don't know, the fireworks also seem to be changing because they seem to be getting louder and louder. And you just hear these huge, loud explosions. There's no evidence you don't see anything, no bright lights or anything. It's just explosions and noise. And they say Trinidadians love noise, but I can't understand the value of something like this, in an already noise-ridden society.
And you say from another angle that this is the time of the year when you get the most set of people abandon their pets, their animals, and so on. You all are flooded. Why do you think that is?
Yes. Well, it seems that at Christmas time, people who have, let's say, a dog locked up in the back of the yard or tied on a chain that's been neglected for most of the year, decide that when they're doing their house cleaning for Christmas and the New Year, that they just want to get rid of it because they no longer want this mangy animal that they've left for most of the year. So they release them. So a lot of animals are abandoned around this time. And so we have those that we have to deal with. We get lots of calls and so on. So we have that problem. And then on top of it, it's aggravated by, dogs that are, particularly dogs, cats, you don't find them that easily. Dogs that are lost due to the fireworks and the difficulty of reuniting them with their owners. So it puts quite a burden.
Yeah, well, you say that you don't find cats that easily because they go further astray or they just run like hell.
Well, and they tend to be more hidden, in that they will tend to hide, particularly in the day. Cats that are out and about tend to be a little more nocturnal.
Yeah.
So you won't see them as easily, but people do still lose their pets. They probably maybe a little more easily confined in the home. So in that sense, people can actually probably keep them in more than tend to keep them in more than they would their dogs. But the dogs are the ones that are more visible, really.
So is this sort of well, it won't be a lost cause if you all continue to do it, but you do it against the knowledge that not much comes out of activism on this, but you have to do it. You have to keep making the point. Is that it?
We have to do it. We have to keep reminding owners to every year to keep their animals secure. We remind them that they should have some form of ID on their dog. If they don't have a proper tag, they could at least put on a collar and use a marker to put their phone number or something. Because when you get these animals in and you think, okay, this is obviously someone's dog, there's really no means of contacting them other than, putting it out on social media or something. So we advise people keep their animals secure indoors if possible, have some background music or something, try to dampen the sound, make sure that, they're not chained anywhere because they can't strangle themselves. So ID tag or ID in some way, keep them in securely. And if they do happen to get lost, you really should look for them and put the information out there, put it out on social media and try and find your pet. Because it's really quite a sad and unnecessary situation for us and for many animal welfare organizations to end up with even more animals that should really be still in their homes.
Well, what is your sense as to what kind of society we are as one person to another, among ourselves as human beings, given the way in which we treat animals? What do you make of that as to what is a statement about who we are as a people?
Well, I know it's often been said, that Trinidadians are terrible and they don't care about animals. And I don't think that's true. In our work, we meet people of all walks of life. And I actually think that there's a growing interest in animals and in animal welfare. And people are quite appalled by incidents of animal cruelty. So I don't think that the society is sort of barbaric as such. And I actually feel that there seems to be actually a stronger interest in animal companions for people. I don't know if this is as a result of, people becoming a little disenchanted with other people. So they turn to animals for companionship. So there's actually a growing interest in animal welfare. A lot of people do have animals as pets and do care about them a lot. But, there's no real structure in the society that manages the care of animals and the welfare of animals. So it's kind of left up to, the NGOs to keep trying to push for it. But there's really no proper structure in place in the country and no supporting facilities and resources to ensure the welfare of animals at this time.
All right, I want to thank you very much for talking with us on that, Ms. Sita Kuruvilla. Keep well. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Very welcome. Sita Kuruvilla, Council Chairman, the Trinidad and Tobago Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. We're going to take a break, much more on the other side. Next guest coming up ahead, Mr. Vivek Charan, Chairman of the Confederation of Regional Chambers of Commerce in Trinidad and Tobago. Stay with us.
Better Value Limited has been making gift-giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor-outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gulview, or check our Facebook page.
Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures. Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
Living in victory every day.
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Making your home a work of art.
Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures.
Horse-eye nights, tiles and bath, making your home a work of art.
Hosins Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Welcome back to the program. In a moment, looking back on the year that is ending 2022 and looking ahead at 2023 from a business perspective. We'll get that from Mr. Vivek Charan. He's the chairman of the Confederation of Regional Business Chambers in Trinidad. But before that, let's just tell you about this story being reported by ABS TV in Antigua. They say the Immigration Department says passengers on a charter flight from Nigeria earlier this week satisfied all entry requirements, including declaration of their places of accommodation. Here's that report.
African tourism is nothing new. It happens all over the world. You have more Nigerians, for example, in London than Antiguans in Antigua. And so it's real. It's happening for us. Like I said, it's happening at a time, at a pace perhaps faster than we anticipated it. It's happening sadly at a time when politics seems to be the only consideration that some people can bring into the conversation. But we as a people need to debunk, disabuse ourselves of this political sound. There's no, how can you bring a Nigerian to Antigua to vote in an election in 21 days' time? That makes any sense to you? I mean, it really is foolishness. And if you go back, like I said, you can tie it to the original comments of the UPP, the opposition party, trying to rubbish a very important element of our development, Antigua Airways, which is serving as an air bridge between Africa and the Caribbean. We are a hub, and we have to accept as a people that we have to find creative ways to build and rebuild our economy. And this is one of the ways. The speed with which is happening is, for some people, frightening. The fact it is happening, for some people, it is not only frightening, but very disturbing for them, because it means that they will be languishing for many more years in the political wilderness as we bring benefits to Antiguans and Barbudans. And let us not forget, we talk about African brothers and sisters, and we are not to be playing politics with them in the meanest, vilest way. We need to show that we have that love for our ancestry or ancestral lines, and not bring this into a political football situation.
All right, from that to this, let's come to our discussion now with Mr. Vivek Charan, Chairman of the Confederation of Regional Business Chambers, looking back on the year that is ending and looking ahead for business in Trinidad and Tobago. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here, Andy, and all the best of the season to you and your viewers.
All right, thank you very much. So let's get to it. What sort of a year was 2022 coming out of the pandemic, which had us sort of in change for 2 years?
Yes, it was a dark 2 years, I think, for SMEs and those of us that were deemed unnecessary or unessential. However, coming out of it, it was, I think it was good. When we came out, not everybody came out, but people started to work towards coming back out and getting the financing to come back out. I think we had a brief spell generally among the SMEs when things reopened and there was this burst of people coming back out and going and getting all the things that they could not get back during the lockdown times and just enjoying being out again. However, coming down to the close of the year, I think particularly at the end of October, and I'm not just saying this, this is after speaking with many of the chambers that we represent and many of the other businesses out there, having informal conversations with them, trying to figure out how business was proceeding. After October, we started to see a sort of precipitous fall in terms of commercial activity. And then that Christmas season came about, which would normally start from November and end, the week before Christmas. And sales were not what they were supposed to be, and it was very worrying. In the beginning, we thought it was a last-minute thing, as it normally tends to be. However, when people look at businesses, they tend to think, you complain too much because Trinidadians are a last-minute society and everyone's going to come out in the last 2 weeks and everything is going to be good with you. But the reality is when you look at seasonal business is about business over a period. So it's like a wave, so we have the upward slope of the wave. We have the peak time, which would be, that time just before Christmas, 2 weeks and so on, and then the fall. But the entire revenues earned, all the sales that would have been generated during that time for businesses, it would happen throughout the entire period. We did not really get to where we wanted at the peak. The peak of 2022, when it came to Christmas sales, was far below, I think, even in 2019. So, it is a very grim thing. It's a worrying thing. I think all of us saw that. I think when we looked at downtown Port of Spain, when we looked at Shogunas, when we looked at Tunapuna, we looked at many of the people on the East-West corridor, it tended to be like that. There was a lot of traffic on the roads, but in the actual stores and in purchasing things, you didn't see a lot of people. The feedback from some of the malls or somebody was that, there was a certain amount of shopping there. We tend to believe in our discussions within the chamber that people with a certain level of income, they were able to come out and they did their shopping and they did what they needed to do. Everyone else that was not of a certain level of income, they made a choice, we believe, due to inflation between food and other things that they would have needed for Christmas. And the reality is that when we look at the central bank report of November 2022, it spoke to, core inflation rising, food inflation rising, basic items, vegetables 13%. I think certain basic items, flour and so on, was 12-point-something%. And this was on the heels of, earlier rises in food inflation brought on by, I think, that global epidemic of inflation, as it were. That being said, it meant that people, it brought about a certain level of anxiety in people, we believe. And they felt that, Christmas was a time when we need to have food on the table, we're having people over and so on, so we made a choice as to what to do. Unfortunately, that choice meant that, Christmas sales, as it were, and commercial sales and all other aspects of retail was not where it should be. It is important to note that the central bank, we heard during 2022 about increased revenues. business. And that's a good thing. We're happy that there was some growth. We're happy that there were increased revenues. I read the central bank report where they said that in the private sector, there was, some growth in the private sector, and there was a deceleration of that growth a bit and so on. But, it's simple to generalize about the private sector. But the private sector in Trinidad is very diverse and it's wide in its own sense. There's manufacturing in the private sector, there's services in the private sector, and there are different aspects of retail in the private sector. There would be supermarkets and so on in the private sector, which obviously have been doing very well. There would be pharmacies and people that sell things like toiletries and so on, which is a small cluster, as also supermarkets are a relatively small cluster compared to all the other retail out there. And they would have been doing well compared to all the other retail, particularly the SMEs and the smaller retail, people selling clothes and gift items and all those other things, toys and so on for the Christmas period. So the idea that there was this growth in this private sector that was widespread is not exactly what really happened. And I am going on record by saying that. It's not really what happened. After speaking to many businesses and many individuals and past presidents and so on, as well as the presidents from the various chambers that we represent, and off the record, other chambers that, that are out there, not directly in terms of regional chambers, and we felt that everybody came to the same conclusions that something is wrong, so to speak, and we need to find out exactly what that is. In the conversations that came up, we spoke about employment levels. So our employment levels in Trinidad are the same as they were in 2019, and I think the answer to that is no. I think while we opened up in 2022, not everybody came back to a job. Not everybody left home to come back to a job, and not everybody who was home was able to come back to a job. There's also the case of many large companies that had layoffs or let people go during the earlier part of the year, into the middle of the year. Some very large companies as well too. So the reality is that there may have been a lot of people out there that are between jobs and don't exactly have the jobs or are not earning exactly what they were earning before.
So there's more. So if we would find that there was more unemployment over the last 12 months.
I would think so, yes. I mean, if you look at, I tried to research it myself and go back to see which companies, by going through the news archives and so on, which companies actually laid people off, and there were a couple of them that, laid people off, and it was a significant amount. Some of them were public utility companies, others were larger companies, some were conglomerates, that sort of thing. In addition to that, we have to understand that signaling in the private sector, particularly with small and medium businesses, if you're doing well and there's growth and there's sales, for example, then there is the capacity to take on more people, the need, as it were, to take on more people. And during Christmas, this is something that tends to happen a lot. Many businesses take on additional help because they're expecting more people to come in and that sort of thing. Another thing is that many businesses also open additional hours for Christmas. So, for example, you'd find that they're opening later hours, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, if their normal closing time was 5 or 4, and in the mall it would go up to 10:30 and so on. This year that didn't really happen. Many stores closed quite early in the malls. Many stores that I know of did not stay later, up to 7, and that's even up to Christmas Eve. So there were a handful of stores that maybe did that, but the reality was that a lot of overtime tends to be made by, employees and staff and so on during the Christmas period. All that adds to the disposable income coming up to the actual crux of that time, which is Christmas Day into New Year's and so on. And that really didn't happen as well too.
Right.
So
you said earlier that you all set out to where you wanted to be over this period that just ended. That was based on what your assumptions as to how things were, and those assumptions weren't realized?
Well, yes, I agree. Because if you're hearing that there's some economic growth, and if you're hearing that we're generating more revenues and so on, and if we based it on the fact that as we came out of the lockdown, there was this initial spurt of commercial activity. The reality is that the logistics for business doesn't happen immediately, doesn't happen quickly. It is something that is planned before, simply because when you're importing things in, as most retailers do, it takes a couple months for it to get to the country and then clear. So maybe 2 months from the Far East, there were a significant amount of delays and so on, even from ports in America. So that took some time. And then at the port in Trinidad, we have, there's often a wait as well too. That being said, during the Christmas time and preparing for the Christmas time, they're Christmas-centric goods, as it were. There's things like decorations and protect toys and these things that people would buy and gift items and so on. And the reality is that when you buy those things, you're looking for that inventory turnover, quick inventory turnover over a period of time. What has happened is that many of the stores have not seen that inventory turnover. What inventory turnover means is that once you cover the cost of your goods by selling enough of the product, then you hit your profits. So going into 2023, when goods remain on the shelf because of the low commercial activity and the low volume of sales, then you have the idea that some companies haven't really covered their costs. Some companies have not reached their break-even point. Some companies have not been able to make the profit that they want to. So it's a worrying situation. It's a worrying situation because, Christmas items will sell for Christmas. Christmas items are not going to sell from January all the way down to October. So the reality is, the assumptions that were made, or the hope, because being in business and being in the SMEs and the private sector, one has a certain level of optimism and one needs a certain level of optimism.
So you're not very optimistic. You're not very optimistic going into 2023.
No, we're not. And you see, again, doing the research, the IDB, I think, the IMF, a couple other international bodies are saying that they forecast growth for Trinidad and Tobago. And that's great. I mean, we're happy to hear that there's going to be growth and there's going to be revenues, but I have to ask, is the growth and are the revenues generated or the revenues earned? And if we're going to have, a fiscal surplus, as it were, how is that going to trickle down? How is that going to help the consumers? How is that going to generate a higher level of commercial activity in the country? I understand that the government would have their own international debts. I understand that the government will have its own recurrent expenditure in terms of salaries to be paid, the owing people and that sort of thing. But the reality of the situation is that I've heard this year that there was economic growth. Why have we not seen a concurrent level of raise in terms of commercial activity? The reality may be exactly as we're surmising that the level of employment is not where it should be, that people's disposable income has not increased in any way, despite the idea that, we're seeing growth in the economy. Growth in the economy may be coming mostly from the energy sector. But again, how is that trickling all the way down? So into 2023, we're dealing with inflation. Globally, the way central banks and countries have been dealing with inflation is, stricter monetary policy control and so on. You've seen so many people raising interest rates. It means that capital is more expensive. You can't, so people are not necessarily going to take as much loans as they should and that sort of thing. So that in itself has, a constricting effect in terms of the economy, in terms of private sector growth and that sort of thing. But the reality is that if we want people's disposable income to increase, how are we going to go about doing that? Raising salaries or raising minimum wage at this point in time is going to be a death knell for business, because as difficult as it is to cover salaries and cover obligations if your level of sales and the commercial activity is low. As I said, many businesses will go into the new year in debt. So if they're going to see increased revenues, then the best thing to do perhaps is to pay people what they are due.
All right.
Pay people with outstanding salaries, pay overtime, that sort of thing.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Charan, Vivek Charan, Chairman of the Confederation of Regional Business Chambers. We'll talk on the other side of these days. But in the circumstances, nevertheless, a Happy New Year.
Same to you. All the best.
Thank you very much. Before we head up to the break and the news at the top of the hour, let's just tell you this and share this with you. Jamaica, they're looking at a new country, in terms of a cleaner country. New garbage trucks were handed over to the National Solid Waste Management Authority. There we have this report from TVJ.
For months we were told that Jamaica's garbage problem hinged on 50 new garbage trucks coming into the island. Those trucks were delivered in November, and at the end of November, November 30, that's on Wednesday, those trucks were handed over to the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA. Well, with the trucks now here, Jamaicans are looking forward to a cleaner Christmas and a cleaner Jamaica going forward. Well, Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, Audley Gordon, he now joins us here on PTN Plus, where we look at these issues a bit further. Mr. Gordon, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners.
All right, first of all, the trucks are here, they're now in your hands. Tell us about the deployment across the island.
Well, firstly, let me say how happy we are that the trucks are now in our custody, and we deployed them the moment the Prime Minister handed them over yesterday. we immediately dispatch them to their various regions, and they are out and about from early this morning. I'm out from 6 o'clock in the Portmore area, and all across Jamaica, the trucks are rolling through the communities. We couldn't get them sooner, and we can't give them any more time to rest. We have to just hit the ground running.
All right, pretty much every parish had a problem. Every parish had a garbage problem, right? Can you tell us, can you give us a number in terms of how many are in, let's say, Hanover? I know they had a terrible problem. St. James, just give us an idea of the numbers. It's only 50 trucks.
Okay, so I'll give you accumulatively. For example, the WPM region, which is Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. The office in Montego Bay got 12 trucks, and they will use that accordingly in those parishes. In Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth, that's the SPM region, they got 10 trucks, and they are out and about in their 3 parishes, along with the regular deployment that they would have. We also have NEPM, that is St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland, and they got 10 trucks. And I can tell you that today they are doing a special operation in Portland where they have over 13 trucks out there because they put the 10 with the others that they have going in on a normal day, and they are out there doing a massive operation now. MPM, which is the Kingston, St. Andrews, St. Thomas, and St. Catherine belt, they got 10 trucks, but they are supported today by the 8 new trucks that are on the fleet squad. So there's a squad that I'll talk to you about tomorrow, not today, but they are out supporting MPM. And right now, the major operation for the MPM region is in Portmore, and I'm there right now as I speak.
Okay, so you're in Portmore now, a part of that operation. Speak to us now about leading up to this, right? There was a backlog of garbage. Collection was an issue. What exactly is the operation now to get rid of that, first of all, heading into the Christmas period?
Well, first of all, I said to Jamaica, and we meant that, we are not resting right into Christmas. We'll take a break for Christmas, obviously, to have some family time. But we're going to go a full court press now in every area where we have challenge. We will, that's why I'm in Portmore, and you hear we talk about Portland, and I know other regions have other areas that they are focusing on, depending on how their data guides them. But we are not relenting, and we're cleaning all backlog out of the system.
So how soon can persons see, actually see the difference on the ground? All of these pile up, cleared, clean, no garbage on our streets. How soon can we see that?
No, let me correct something you have said. You will never get to a point where you don't see any garbage. Because we generate garbage every day.
Well, the pile up at least, the pile up that we have been seeing.
You will get to a point, and some communities already. I was in Helsha Glades just now. Every drum is clean in there. So some communities already, and that was in backlog. So some community already have begun seeing the result of our effort. But we'll continue, and different community will see, will be able to see the difference at different time, depending on when we reach them and how heavy the backlog was.
All right, so we're just into December now. We're just into December. You're saying by, let's say, Christmas, we should be good? There shouldn't be any complaints of pile-ups?
No, based on our calculations and what our numbers tell us, in 14 days, maximum 16 days, you should not see any backlog. And this is different from not seeing any garbage, because some people believe that if they see some garbage in a drum, that we're not doing our work. You will see garbage because we generate garbage. But that excessive backlog, you will not see that in 16 days because we're going a full court press. Now look, Herman, we built up quite a little debt there with the public, you see? And we have to try and pay that debt. Because you know that for the past 8 to 10 months, we have been behind. We have to try and get on top of it now. We have some fresh tires on the road, fresh engines, and we're going to try to use them to make a difference.
Well, that story leads us into the news break at this time. Our news at the top of the hour. On the other side of that, we're talking with veterans in Trinidad and Tobago in a discussion, an argument you might call it, with authorities in the government about their seeking of a 99-year lease for what was their headquarters at the top of the Queen's Park, Savannah. Stay with us.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Tobago Council leader calls out Chief Secretary for attack on EMA. Rio Claro woman remanded on a cocaine trafficking charge. Court granted $175,000 bail for sexually touching a girl of 14 years. And internationally, 7 die in coach plunge horror in Spain. Now for the details. Chief Secretary Fali Augustin's interpretation of the Authority of the Environmental Management Agency in relation to actions taken by the Tobago House of Assembly is not farcical but frightening. So says PNM Council leader Ansel Dennis. He said that Augustin is attempting to convince Tobagonians that an institution which has been put in place to protect the environment and the citizenry from excesses of government bodies and private interests is powerless in the Tobago space. Of equal concern is Augustin's assertion that he wrote to the EMA pointing out the error of their ways. Dennis said that the combination of arrogance and ignorance does not bode well for the relationship between the THA and relevant state agencies and, by extension, the welfare of Tobagonians. A Rio Claro woman has been charged with possession of cannabis for the purpose of trafficking and was remanded into custody yesterday pending tracing of her criminal record. Michelle Gonzalez of Dades Reserve Road, Rio Claro, pleaded not guilty to the offense when she appeared virtually before the Rio Claro Magistrates Court. Officers of the Rio Claro Criminal Investigations Department, following the execution of a search warrant for dangerous drugs at her residence, allegedly found 8 packets of cocaine weighing 154 grams, TT $10,000, and 2 electronic scales. The narcotics has an estimated street value of over $70,000. In more crime news now, a 63-year-old coach was granted bail with a surety in the sum of $175,000 when he appeared before a magistrate in Arima after he was charged with sexually touching a girl. The accused is expected to reappear in court on January 23rd. Police reports indicate that on November 11th, a woman offered a ride to her daughter's coach. The man and the girl were both seated in the back seat of the motor vehicle, which upon reaching the Twin City area, the man allegedly started touching the girl's leg. After the man was dropped off, the girl informed her mother about the incident. The woman then made a report to the Child Protection Unit of the Maracas St. Joseph Police Station, and the suspect was subsequently arrested. In international news now. Emergency services in Spain have confirmed a 7th death after a bus plunged from a bridge into a river on Christmas Eve. Rescuers retrieved the body of a woman from the Lores River in the northwestern Galicia region on Monday. 2 people, including the driver, were hurt after the bus traveling from Lugo to Vigo fell from a height of about 30 meters into the fast-flowing river. Officials say bad weather may have caused the crash. They say the bus driver tested negative for alcohol and drugs. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
From A to Z, find it all easily. Everyone comes from far and near to the specialist hardware.
Get all you need need for your interior or exterior projects, from finishing accessories to small or large tools. We're known for a range of doors, flooring, moldings, medallions, even fountain pumps and tanks. Check us out. We have what you need to get that job done.
Your list from A to Z, find it all easily. Everyone comes from far and near to the specialist hardware.
Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marbella.
Your Christmas is safe with us at BCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at BCU. Police Credit Union. BCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Poolside nights, hands and bath, making your home a work of art.
Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures.
Poolside nights, hands and bath, making your home a work of art.
Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Better Value Limited has been making gift giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor, outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gullview, or check our Facebook page.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Living in victory every day.
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
Welcome back to the program. Let's just tell you about this discussion coming up based on some headlines in a recent edition of the Newsday newspaper. One headline said veterans want a 99-year lease on the Queen's Park headquarters. And the other one, continuation of the story, the government resists the veterans' attempts to get land. It has to do with the people known as the Royal Air Force Association, Veterans Association, the Trinidad and Tobago Veterans Association. A property they occupied at the top of the Queen's Park Savannah, coming around off of the Lady Young Road for many years. They will talk about it, what the issues are for them, as to where their home should be, what has been happening and what is happening now with it. Mr. Dennis Olivier is the chairman and Mr. Jared Giuseppe is the treasurer. Garth Giuseppe, the late, that's his younger brother. Gentlemen, good to have you. Good to be talking with you on this day, on this issue. Let's start with you, Ty. Well, everybody know you as Ty.
Yeah.
Right? With the situation, what is it really that you all are trying to accomplish, and you're dealing with people in the government not getting anywhere, as you're all saying?
Yeah. Good morning to you, Andy. Good morning to the Trinidad and Tobago viewing public, and of course the viewing public regionally and internationally. I know that you're all out there.
We have, yeah.
So that the issue at hand is that the veterans have a plan. The Royal Air Forces Association and the Trinidad and Tobago Veterans Association has a plan for developing the piece of land that was granted to us. We were then the Sailors and Soldiers Club in 1920. By King George V. Yeah. The building that we are now presently in is over 100 years. And it is literally what used to be the ablutions or the toilets to the main building, which was the main club that at some point in time housed the Central Library. A lot of people know it. But it was really the Soldiers and Sailors Overseas Club. We have occupied, Royal Air Forces Association has occupied that building since 1953, and the Trinidad and Tobago Veterans Association has occupied the present building since 2005. So that we do have a history of being there for quite a while. Our plan is to put up a multi-story complex for all veterans, not only Royal Air Force veterans, all military veterans in the country, and for sporting veterans. There are also facilities for sporting veterans. What has happened is that the government, the cabinet, took a decision in 2019 to seize the property. They vested it into UDCOT and gave UDCOT the authority to take immediate possession of the property in October, November 2019. That has literally put us under siege. It has shut us down, shut down our operations, literally shut us down. It's unbelievable, because there's no parking around the Savannah, right? The old building was torn down in the 70s to make way for the car park that we had there, because the old building was dilapidated. We converted the space into a parking area so that the facilities could be properly used.
Is that what people would call a kind of hostile takeover?
A hostile, yes, indeed. It's unbelievable. You know, it gives you the impression that might is right, you know, because we're the government. We could do what we want by just passing a law or, you know, taking, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's illegal, it's legal action to justify an immoral objective. Because to take that property from the veterans with the plans that we have for the community, not only the veterans, but for Belmont in general, it's unbelievable that these people would be thinking about this thing.
And what is the sort of the center of your activism about it? What are you trying to meet with government representatives, ministers?
We have been trying to meet with Minister Rambarat while he was in office for the duration of the time that he was in office. We even sat in his lobby for weeks and weeks, and he refused to meet with us.
He was the Minister of Agriculture.
At that time, Minister...
And this matter, this property falls under the aegis of the Ministry of Agriculture?
Yes, the Ministry of Agriculture is the landlord. I must give the present minister his kudos. What it took us, what never happened under Minister Rambarat happened literally within 24 hours under Minister Kazim Hussein.
Which is what?
Which is meeting.
Meeting with us.
Yeah. Which is getting a simple thing as getting a meeting.
A dialogue. Yes.
And getting some dialogue to explain what it is happening. But of course, as far as we're concerned, Minister Rambarat has his agenda. He put forward a recommendation to the cabinet based on, as far as we're concerned, a lot of false things. He used a survey that was done by TIDCO. TIDCO is a defunct organization entity.
Would he not have been acting on sort of instructions from people in the cabinet? This would have been a cabinet decision to do whatever he was doing and so on?
I guess it would. Yeah. It was the objective is for cabinet to have something to work on. So he put together the plan. I mean, it's more than 40 years. The government after government have been trying to acquire that without coming up with a plan to get it. Minister Rambarat found a way to deal with it.
Yeah.
And
okay, so let me bring you into the discussion, Agis, here, from the perspective as chairman, a treasurer of this organization and so on. What has been lost?
Good morning, everybody. All viewers, blessings. Yeah. What has
been lost in these arrangements here?
Well, everything is lost up to now. We're looking for a resurrection. Right? What happened was, over 4 years, right, when they invaded the property, it's true, because what we started was to get a state grant, right? After 100 years on the property, even when we could not receive it, Baron Lara have a state grant, right? But we fought the wars. It had meant that really suffered. The family still, we're not really rich. Right? So this idea came up about 10, 12 years ago to build a veterans complex for police, army, everybody.
All military.
All military, plus even fire brigade, fire and services and so forth, and prisons. So in my mind, I thought this is a blessing for Trinidad and Tobago.
And that was something that would have been welcomed.
Welcome to any government. Right? We also went through 3 governments. Right?
So that's a
yes, that is
a copy of the plan.
That was the
plan.
Have
it, yeah.
It's how beautiful it is. Right? So any government, don't forget we went through the Patrick Manning regime, we went through Kamala and the PP, right? Then we get the most hostile, right? And it is really...
Is it the most hostile?
Yeah, because all of them at least came with some plan, which when we met, we said, no, this is our place. We're not moving. Right? At that time, the people told me to see if we could get 10 acres anywhere and you could exchange. Right? Still keep the old building, but they want the car park. Right? Something in that car park is attracting everybody.
So that was the partnership position.
Partnership,
if you could find an alternative.
Even before that, well, I was around, my brother Ty was around talking about Patrick Manning. What they offered. Right? But this new group offered not just took. Right? People were telling us why we didn't protest, why we didn't come and block them off, why we didn't cough it out, we sold there. But it's a right way and a wrong way, because it's very difficult for me really to say we there 100 years, right? And we have to go through so low for people who are supposed to be running this country, and really give us a hearing. We was asking for a hearing. And I can't understand why this always. I went there 15 times to the Ministry of Agriculture head office in Shawanas. And all the time, Mr. Giuseppe, well, they know you're not yet. And Mr. Giuseppe, and the secretary is quite nice, so I couldn't have no problem. We tried. When Brother Tai came back from his illness, we went back up again. No luck. And then after the bulldozer came, lock us up, lock us down. You know? And right now, our revenue of none. Because we just have to pay bills with no revenue coming in. And it's very, very hurtful for the men who worked and died.
What was your source of revenue?
Well, it was so many things. Like, for instance, weddings, parties, engagements.
Events and engagements happening at the
happening
place.
all the time. We have all our NGOs, you know, the Cancer Society, the football, the cricket, boxing. It was lively. It was lively. You know, we had something like 14 NGOs. Right now, all gone.
Yeah, who used that venue for?
Yeah, and everything we also had a percentage on using it. You know, something small, nothing big. But at least when I put it together, we get it.
What's it? We give a contribution. All the different organizations made a contribution in some form financially that would help the parties, the weddings and things, and the car park. The thing is that it has affected these people just as much as it has affected us.
I mean, they have to find alternative
especially the cancer survivors. We have heirs embracing all real survivors. Cancer Foundation is based at RAFA. For cancer survivors, part of the plan in the new building was 3 floors of medical facilities that would assist
cancer patients,
specifically cancer patients.
All right, so what do you want to use this opportunity to say as to how there must be some kind of resolution to this matter going forward, and what you want to see happen?
What has happened is that we had children, steelman, training, practicing on the compound that couldn't even practice in their own yard because of the crime in the area. We brought them in. We had people from the area boxing, taking the youths off of the street and giving them boxing. We have the Cancer Foundation. We are getting equipment for breast cancer patients, survivors, prostate, and the other cancers that affect us so much, colon. We are getting assistance from England. We can't even have a clinic to hand out these things to the people who need it. You know, right now we need to have the parking area. We need to have a car park so that people could come there. We have people in wheelchairs who have to park on Belmont Circular Road and walk around.
And find their way to
and find their way around, right? It is dangerous to pull up in front of Rafa building on Queen's Park. We have slabs blocking the pavement for a reason, because cars frequently run off the road there. And we've had several accidents. People have died in that area. So we have it blocked off. It's not an area that you come and you could park easily and come out, right? So that what we are saying, Andy, is that we want to get a lease
state grant
on a state grant for 99 years, because you cannot go to the bank in the 21st century with 30 years to borrow $150 million or to get any kind of funding with a 30-year lease. You need a long lease, right? So that we could put up the multi-story complex, which would give offices to all the military organizations, the Legion, the American Legion, all the Veterans Associations.
And these associations are in sync with you all?
Of course, yeah. They fall under the Federation, but we spread all over the place, right? There are 3 floors of medical facilities in that building that would give dialysis, rehabilitation for serious injuries. Police, army, military people get, and sportsmen get serious injuries.
Also
there's no habilitation. There's no habilitation.
Also gunshots. Yeah. You see even that too, for the police and army and things.
There's no rehabilitation facility in Trinidad for this thing. You know. There's nothing. We're talking about residential apartments for veterans who retired with their spouses, single and double. We're talking about an auditorium for meetings. We're talking about a concert hall. We're talking about conference rooms. You know, we're talking about function halls, gymnasium. As a matter of fact, we had discussion with some Canadians who were looking for somewhere in the Caribbean to have rehabilitation done. In 1920, all the way up to the Second World War.
For people who served in the armed forces, wherever they were. Yeah.
That facility was being used to rehabilitate soldiers who got injured on the front line. They went to the hospital in Long Circular Road, and you would send them to the Soldiers and Sailors Club, where they would stay until they go back to the front line, or they go home accordingly. But in the meantime, it was for rehabilitation. We planned a swimming pool for therapeutic rehabilitation. Shops, boutiques, restaurants. It's 7 stories up and 2 stories down for parking.
Yeah, we just have less than 2 minutes to go.
So,
Jared, okay, go make the point you're making.
So, okay, you've seized the property, you've vested it into UDCOT. What is your plan? What is the alternative? What is the government's alternative to that? To give us what we're talking about, a place where military personnel, Ministry of National Security personnel could get instant assistance, could get rebate, medical attention for themselves.
And somebody is watching this and listening to this, and you hope to get a response. But I just wanted to come back to you, Jared, as to, so what is your, the platform which you operate in now? You're the treasurer. There's no means by which...
Well, we have to put in our own pockets and pay out the light bills and things now. You know, water rates, you know, members is sending their contribution, you know. So that is how we live in now, like kind of vacantish, you know. But I always think for the future it'll be better. So I would hope the government will send a decision and one say, all right, we and we'll work with you all to at least bless Trinidad and Tobago, and especially the RAFA. You know, because we died for this country.
All right, we got to leave it there, gentlemen. Gerard Giuseppe and Dennis Ty Olivier. Before, well, let's say that this is going to be the last program for this year, 2022. We'll take a break. We come back at that down the road. But we want to wish everybody a good New Year. I'm Andy Johnson. See you around.
Blessings.
WESN.
Living in victory every day.
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
I'm Keaton Shaw, and we are WESN, the content capital. What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers? Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
I'm Sean Michael Small, and we are WESN, the content capital.
I am Kemuel Pascal, and we are WESN, Content Capital.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered,
the conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
I'm Andy Johnson, and you're watching WESN, the Content Capital. The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
I am Mahi Sekas, and you are watching WESN, the content capital.
I am Rondell Donowa, and you are watching WESN, the content capital.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, is for all of us in public.
I am Sule A. Joseph, and we are WESN, Content Capital. Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
So, Simone, in these times, things are very difficult. Life has changed dramatically.
Many people have experienced mental health issues for the first time. So people who have just managed to keep anxiety